Hello all and peace be with you. It's me, Sammy, again. Welcome back, or if this is the first time you're watching, welcome to you. So we discussed yesterday, or it was yesterday, but in the previous video, the disturbing situation that those who became known as Eritreans went through, the natives of the land north of the Marab. The natives who were given the slave name of Eritreans. Eritrea, it's a slave name. That's what it is essentially. So we went over what the Italians were doing. They educated no one. They had their Piccola Roma, which was the village of Asmara. I didn't know Asmara was a village. The text that we're going by is the historical orbit of Eritrea's Agony by Dr. Alemseged Abbay. So in this text, it's mentioned that the village of Asmara was turned into Piccola Roma, Little Rome. Eritreans could not hang out there. They could not spend time there. They couldn't be there. It was only for Italians. And we spoke about mixed children, those who mixed between who were mixed between Italian and Eritrean and native, because miscegenation took place, madamismo, Italians taking mistresses. If I'm not mistaken, the Italians took mistresses, if I'm not mistaken, and so they ended up having kids, but those kids were not treated the same way. They were called the Metici. Metici were not treated the same way as pure Italians. They were not treated the same way. Mussolini didn't want people to get into relations with native women because he wanted to maintain race purity, but people were doing it anyway from the Italians. Miscegenation, by the way, the word that I used yesterday means sexual relationship. That's what I believe I looked it up. I did look it up in the past. I just forgot. That's all. It's limited to a sexual relationship. I don't know if it includes marriage, but it basically involves sexual relationship between two races. So that's what was happening. His own son found them. His own son is quoted to have found the Eritrean women. He said that the Abyssinian women possessed sex appeal, and most Italians kept native mistresses. This is mentioned in a source that the professor, Dr. Alemseged, mentions. In any case, we discussed this topic. We talked about how Eritreans were untrained, and because they were untrained, foreigners had to be brought in by the British in order to run the place, to run Eritrea. So they came from Kenya, Uganda, Tanganyika. Tanganyika, I found was an independent country which became part of, I believe, Tanzania. It was a country which became part of, it was a country and then it became part of Tanzania, I believe. So they came from Kenya, Uganda, Tanganyika, Sudan, Rhodesia, which is Zimbabwe today basically, Egypt, and Palestine to operate their state machinery in Asmara. Because of lack of education, the British had to could not find trained natives in what became known as Eritrea. So today we're going to continue talking about this story of mixed people and between Italian and native, and we're going to talk more about the Italian story in this place known as Eritrea. It's a new name given to a place that didn't go by this name. Let's continue. from where we left off yesterday. The last sentence we read of the last paragraph was, thus, as unwelcome byproducts of the institution of madamismo, if I'm not mistaken, madamismo is taking mistresses, the Medici were not spared the scourge of racism. They were not spared the scourge of racism. The Medici, the mixed kids, were not spared racism. They were not spared the scourge of racism. They were victims of racial discrimination. Since the highland region of Eritrea, commonly known as Kabessa, was a patrilineal society, mothers raised their Medici children as Italians. Get that? So the highlands, Kabessa is basically where the Tigrinya, Saho, and Jabarti are. So I don't want to, get facts mixed up, or the Jabarti are a Tigrinya speaking Muslim people. Whether they are Tigrinya, meaning whether they belong to the Tigrinya ethnicity or not, is subject to debate amongst them. They, based on my ears and what I've heard from them, a few of them anyway, they don't identify as Tigrinya. My family members told me that the Jabarti came from Tigray. They were escaping persecution from Yohannes, and they came from Tigray and they settled in what is known today as Eritrea. Whether they're originally Tigrinya or not, they say that they descend from common Arab ancestors. I don't know. I'm not going to. I don't have any backing. I don't have any research. I haven't read the history of the Jabarti. You do find them also in Karan, where my family comes from. My mother's side is Belen, so my father's Arab, but my mother is Belen, and Belen are found in Karan. They're one of the original inhabitants of Karan. It used to be known as Bogos, Karan. But anyway, so the Jabarti are found in the highlands, in the Kabessa, the southern area. Where exactly, I don't know. But these areas of Asmara, which is what is known as Hamasien, and Saraye, and Aklugzai, which is southern Eritrea, the highlands, that's what the Kabessa is. Kabessa is the highlands. The Tigrinya live there, the Saho live there, and the Jabarti live there. So anyway, the highland region of Eritrea, commonly known as Kabessa, was a patrilineal society. Mothers raised their children as Italians. Since it was patrilineal, they had to raise their kids because of the culture as Italians. This is wrong, of course. You shouldn't raise them as Italians. These people are oppressors. They came here. You shouldn't. I mean, come on. Use your brain. Forget the culture. In this situation, you have to put the culture on the side. It would be an insult to the culture to do this. Despite being thoroughly assimilated into the Italian culture, though, the Medici could not pass for Italians. Even though they were fully assimilated, they could not pass for Italians. Similar to the colored people of apartheid South Africa. So similar to them, they could not pass for assimilated into the Afrikaner social culture, sharing Afrikaans, Dutch Reformed Church, etc. The colored could not pass for Afrikaners because they were not white enough. You're not white enough, therefore you don't pass. You're not white enough. Doesn't matter if you have soft hair. It doesn't matter if you have, if you look like, I don't know, who's someone that's white, light-skinned, but African. I can't think of anyone at the moment. In any case, even it doesn't. You're not white enough. You're not pure. Similarly, skin pigmentation kept the Medici out of the Italian settler world, and the very color line that kept the Italians apart from the Medici even more markedly separated them from the natives. Skin pigment kept the Medici away, out of the Italian settler world, and the very color line that kept the Italians apart from the Medici even more markedly separated them from the natives. It separated them from the natives. The color, skin color. People make a big deal out of this. I don't care about skin color. I never cared about skin color, by the way. I'm not bragging. I'm just saying I never cared about skin color. I don't see a person's skin color and think, oh, he's low and oh, he's better than him. For me, it's about your personality. Or your culture. Culture meaning like if you have certain aspects in your culture which are villainous, which are evil, then I'll say something about the culture, but not your appearance. This sort of raw racism fed into the pool of grievances of the native population yearning for a return to Ethiopia. Dr. Alemseged is telling us that this sort of raw racism fed into the pool of grievances. It fed into the pool of complaints and disappointments and concerns and complaints that the natives had that made them yearn for a return to Ethiopia. I don't know what the lowlander view was. I don't know what their sentiment was. But this sentiment, I believe, was especially found among those who were Tigrinya. I don't know about anyone else. I don't know what the other people felt. Because I know that the Blen, they had their issues with the Orthodox Christian kingdoms. Why? Because they would come and raid them and they would mistreat them, even though the Blen were Orthodox Christians. Our ancestors were most likely Orthodox Christians, the Blen. By the way, BTW. By the way, our ancestors were Orthodox Christians, but because of that, but the oppression which was committed by the Orthodox Christians south of from the kingdom, the Amhara and Tigrayan kingdom, unfortunately, it caused the Blen to seek help from other people, or rather to seek refuge in Catholicism to be protected by Italians, or Islam to be left alone and protected by either the Turks or the Egyptians or both, or including the Sudanese. That's what happened. I'm proud to be a Muslim. I'm Muslim not because my parents are Muslims. I'm Muslim because I choose Islam. I make my choices. I don't follow because my family belongs to something. I don't care about my family in this regard. I'm not a blind follower. Wherever the truth is, I go, regardless of who says what and what group I come from. So he says, yearning for a return to Ethiopia, which, by the way, let's just say that it applied to all Eritreans. Let's say it applies to everyone from Eritrea. There would be no issue with yearning for a return to Ethiopia. Why would you want to put up with these Italians if you have a better life with Ethiopia? By the way, right now, where are the Afar? Where are the Afar resistance? Where is it? I just heard a story today. Just today, I heard a story which I believe, which did not happen today, but I heard it today. It happened within the last few days. So if you guys are keeping up with politics in with the story in Ethiopia and Eritrea and the boiling them getting closer to war, you may know that the Afar are ready to go up against Eritrea, and they're getting support by the Ethiopian government. Those Afar are Eritrean Afar. They are the armed group that I know of is Resado. By the way, it's not just them. Brigade Nahamadu is also in Ethiopia. Brigade Nahamadu, I mean, I don't know what, I would think that they're mainly Tigrinya. They call themselves in Ethiopia, this particular branch is called the Blue Revolution. It's called the maybe EBRF, Eritrean Blue Revolution Front, Blue Revolutionary Front, something like that. So they're based in Ethiopia, in Addis Ababa. They're in Ethiopia. And the Afar are in Ethiopia, in the Afar region. So 2 points I want to make. One is that there are Afar who were dissatisfied with Abiy Ahmed, rightfully so. I mean, who wouldn't be dissatisfied with him? So they went to Eritrea in order to join a group that would fight against Abiy Ahmed, supported by Isaias Afwerki. So they would receive support by Isaias, and they would fight against Ethiopia, siding with Isaias. One of them, at least one of them, defected. He made the trip from the Afar region and went to the southern, what they call the southern Red Sea region of Eritrea, to join that Afar group. And he ended up coming back. He defected. Why? This is relevant to this topic. Why did he defect? Because while he was there, he saw the plight of the Afar people that are living there. He saw that. He wanted out. So he left. And this guy was one of the top guys. He was like the right-hand man of the top guy, whose name I think is Ibrahim Uthman in Arabic, Usman in the local Eritrean dialects. So Ibrahim Usman is the leader. You know, I hope he defects too. But he's the man, I forget his name, he saw the plight, he came back to Ethiopia. That's one point. The second point, these people are using Ethiopia. Isn't it ironic that there was a revolution against Ethiopia? Yeah, nobody likes Abiy Ahmed. Nobody likes Abiy Ahmed. But they're using Ethiopia in order to start a revolution against Eritrea. You see, this is irony at its finest. This is the pinnacle of irony. This is the irony of irony. They're based in Ethiopia. And in Ethiopia, the Afar have more rights than even under this Abiy crazy guy, they have more rights than they do in Eritrea. They don't have any rights in Eritrea. What am I saying? They have no rights in Eritrea. The man said that Isaias wants to turn Afar against each other, which is what he wants to do. He wants to destroy the Afar and at the same time use them. Isaias is a snake. At 80 years old, this guy is still manipulating. A devil. Yearning for a return to Ethiopia. The Italians, however, relied upon the natives for labor. Italy's colonial wars in Libya and Ethiopia were fought primarily by Eritreans. In Libya and Ethiopia, they were fought by Eritreans. They were, I'm not going to use foul words, not language. Like I wasn't going to use I'm not going to. Let's just say slaves. They were used as slaves to go and fight wars in Ethiopia and in Libya. Slaves, go fight for us, fighting for the whites. They were fighting wars. Now they are they go to Libya in order to run when they're running away from Eritrea, and they end up getting caught there, and bad things happen to them when they get to Libya. The Libyans treat them like subhuman. I seek refuge with God. They treat them like they mistreat them. They torture them. They electrocute them. Not just them. Anybody that's from who's migrating, seeking a better life. After a revolution, 30-year revolution which did not bring any fruit. Not even one fruit. So, those wars were fought primarily by Eritreans. It was barefoot natives who labored to construct the streets. Barefoot natives who labored to construct the streets, such as Viale Mussolini and the modernist and Art Deco buildings of Asmara. Also, as domestic servants, messengers, etc., natives rendered all sorts of menial work so that the settlers could enjoy la dolce vita. We keep using this term, la dolce vita, because it's relevant. That is what was being enjoyed. That this is a theme of this article. La dolce vita, the good life, the sweet life that the Italians were enjoying. The Eritreans were the ones who were barefooted Eritreans labored for it. What do you think the Italians were? Oh, these nice young men. Thanks so much. Give me an Eritrean name. Thanks so much, Mikhail. You have done a great job. Or thanks so much, Idris or Usman. Or thanks so much for doing such a great job. I can't wait for you and I to live together. Even if they did that, who gave the Italians permission to come and make themselves at home? There's a lot that took place during the Italian occupation. The social division of labor was reflected in the bifurcation. The social division of labor was reflected in the bifurcation of the legal system. As citizens, the settlers were governed by civic codes, and natives were subjected to customary laws which condoned slavery. The natives were subjected to customary laws which condoned slavery, which supported slavery. Despite Mussolini's publicly stated Italian civilizing mission of eliminating cruel despotism and age-long slavery, the institution, that's, quote, cruel despotism and age-long slavery. The institution of slavery remained intact in Eritrea, elaborately legislated in the customary laws and codified under Italian supervision. Let me quickly just check out the sources. So the quote about cruel despotism and age-long slavery, that's from the American Embassy's text of Mussolini's speech upon the entry of Italian troops to Addis Ababa, delivered on May 5th, 1936, to the people of Italy. To the Secretary of State, Washington, D.C., May 5th, 1936. Telegram number 130. And the source which comes after it about the institution of slavery remaining intact in Eritrea, elaborately legislated in the customary laws and codified under Italian supervision. That source is that's a I don't know if this is a source. I don't understand it. It's in Tigrinya, but I think it says Sir'at at Kame Milga. I don't understand what that means. So anyway, but that's a source. So under Italian supervision, the separate legal systems were defended by the Ministry of Colonies. The separate legal systems, these two separate legal systems, one for the Italians, one for the Eritreans, were defended by the Ministry of Colonies. We do not intend to extend metropolitan legislation and civil equality to natives, which they would not understand or desire. I'll repeat that. We do not intend to extend metropolitan legislation and civil equality to natives, which they would not understand or desire. They would not understand it, nor would they desire it. This is the Italian, how they viewed these the Eritreans, so-called Eritreans. I don't want to use this name anymore. This is the thing about texts like this. They make you realize things. This was the source is the American Embassy, Rome, to Department of State, September 30th, 1936. Let's finish the paragraph, and then we'll end this particular episode. We will be continuing, of course. In the urban setting too, residential segregation resembled that of apartheid South Africa. In colonial attitudes and policies, the zone of Gaza Inda Abba Shaul was to Piccola Roma what Soweto was to Johannesburg under apartheid. Clearly, settlers and natives lived worlds apart, and the Italian language was so arcane that by 1931, only 1.1% of the native population had basic knowledge of it. 1.1% by the year 1931. Italy was there since when? 1889, at least. At least. They were there actually earlier than that, but they were there since 1889. The place became, on January 1st, 1890, Eritrea became Eritrea. So from 1890 until 1941, the Italians were there, 51 years. 1931, 41 years they had been there. Only 1.1% of the native population had known Italian. 1.1%. It reminds me of Occupy Wall Street when they were talking about the 1%. The source for that is Takesta Nagash, Italian Colonialism in Eritrea, 1882 to 1941. Page 67, if I'm not mistaken. 1882 to 1941. Italian colonialism in Eritrea. We'll end there. That was a lot.